Hi, everyone. It's so good to see everyone here today. And people are still joining us, so that's terrific. I'd like to welcome you all here today to this special topic on nutrition and trying to stay healthy by eating well during these very challenging times. I'd like to just quickly thank, I see some folks out there, and we have a couple of board members for the OIF on the call, so I'd like to thank Ted Trahan, I see him out there, and Sharon Mutnick, I think I saw you. And there's probably a couple of other board members, so thank you for joining, and thanks everyone for joining. So as Erica said, when we get started, I'm going to introduce our two speakers. We have a few questions for them right off the top. We'll ask them, and then we're going to open up to questions for everybody. And the way we ask our questions, as Erica said, is to type them into the chat box, and then we'll just go ahead and ask our wonderful expert presenters. So first, let me introduce them. Ashley Reese. So Ashley is a registered dietitian nutritionist and licensed medical nutrition therapist. So you see some of those letters next to her name in the state of Nebraska. She obtained her bachelor's of science degree in dietetics from Iowa State University. And she then completed an 11-month accredited dietetic internship and master's degree in medical nutrition at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Since completing her education, she has worked as a retail dietitian and now works at Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, one of our wonderful partners, as a clinical pediatric dietitian. At Children's, she provides nutrition care in a variety of different outpatient specialty clinics, including the OI clinic. So we're very glad to have Ashley here. Our second presenter is Stefanie Sacks. Stefanie is a nationally recognized culinary nutritionist, professional chef, author, educator, speaker, consultant, and leading authority on eating to prevent and manage illness. For over 2 decades, she has helped transform the way people eat, using hands-on experiences to inspire, educate, and offer practical tools for food lifestyle changes. She has her Master's of Science in Nutrition from Teachers College, Columbia University. She's a certified nutrition specialist, a certified dietitian nutritionist, and is a graduate of the Natural Gourmet Institute for Health and Culinary Arts. As a chef nutritionist, she uses food as a conduit to help to deep transformation. She inspires, educates, and empowers people to eat and live to their full potential. Her book, which I love the title, What the Fork Are You Eating? That will be available in audio July 2020, is a must-read for anyone looking to make small changes in food choice for optimal health. She is a sought-after media guest expert on the topic of healthy choices with frequent appearances on the Dr. Oz Show, PBS, and multiple radio programs. And we will have resources available from both Ashley and Stefanie that will be posted to our website after the presentation. So with that, welcome to our experts.
Thanks,
we're going to get started.
And Erica, thank you.
Yeah. So the first question, Ashley, I'm going to put this to you first of all.
Okay.
In terms of nutrition for those living with OI, what nutrients are most important and what foods and or supplements do you suggest?
So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're getting enough calcium and vitamin D. By no means does it heal ROI, but it definitely will help promote some good bone growth. So dairy products or dairy alternatives, preferably, especially for those kiddos, dairy alternatives that are high in protein, like a soy, ripple milk. Those are the preferred alternatives. Greek yogurt, cheese, as well as some leafy greens are some really good choices to get calcium. Vitamin D, we can get through the sun. So hopefully we can get outside a little bit during this time. Other than that, some good supplements, which we can always recommend. Your dietitian at your clinic can recommend some good supplements for you as well.
Great. Stefanie, do you want to add anything there?
I think Ashley did a great job of covering it. Of course, egg yolks also are valuable for vitamin D, and animal foods, particularly going with some of the fatty fish, is also good. So, but I think we covered it.
What would a fatty fish be? Just
something like a sardine, even salmon is good to have.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I'm very interested in this presentation, everybody. So I'm going to be asking more questions than everybody probably. So Stefanie, for you, during these times, almost all of us are having challenges with daily routines, including meal times and food choices. Trips to the grocery store offer slim pickings in many cases. Food deliveries have their obstacles. What advice do you have to stay healthy throughout COVID-19? And I should have, before I let you answer that, just to make sure that everyone knows, Ashley and Stefanie are not COVID experts. They're experts in their fields. So the discussion that we're talking about is how to eat healthy during this time. So any questions about COVID, they're not experts in that, but they are truly experts in their field. So Stefanie, to you.
So I think the first thing that I will say to everybody is forgive yourself. So forgive yourself for what you can't do right now, because we all have challenges. I mean, I'm someone who's very well educated in food. I know how to cook, and I've had to make a lot of compromises, and I've had to let go of a lot of things. So the first thing I would say is start by forgiving yourself for what you can and can't do right now, because this time shall pass, okay? And the goal is to get through it healthy, mind, body, and spirit. So after we've sort of agreed to forgive ourselves, what I would try to do is stick to your routine as much as possible. I think that's really important. And that's something Ashley and I really went back and forth on over the past day, how important it is to just try to stick to your routine. And if you're going to, reach for food and eat out of boredom, try to fill that with another activity. I know I'm doing a lot of vacuuming and cleaning a lot of dishes right now. So, Ashley, I'll turn that over to you and then we can bounce off.
Yes, yeah, definitely finding another activity. I mean, if it's cleaning your living space to having fun with the kids, maybe playing a board game or helping them with their homework if they're able to do it virtually, or even reading a book or going outside for a walk, hopefully, if we can do that in your area. Trying to stay away and out of the kitchen can be helpful because we're all a little bored, we're all a little anxious, and food is comfort sometimes, and we want to try to stay away from it and only eat when we're normally eating. So waking up in the morning, showering can help, starting your day with a normal routine, eating breakfast, going about your day, and then sitting down to eat lunch instead of grazing while we're just doing our normal activities.
I think also there are a lot of tremendous virtual opportunities now. And as so much of my work is centered in the health and wellness world, I'm aligned with a lot of, mind-body experts. And so, for example, some of the tools that I've used is just like Deepak Chopra is doing these 21-day meditations, which are these wonderful meditations that you can tap into, and it's about 20 minutes in its entirety. And it's just a nice way to get yourself out. There's a wonderful outlet called the Center for Mind Body Medicine. And Dr. Jim Gordon, who heads that up, is doing a lot of wonderful free virtual opportunities for learning, and also Q&As where you're going to really be able to access some of the medical experts who are well informed about COVID. I think there's like another thing that I've been doing too is tapping into someone named Krishna Das who does chanting. And for some people who like music, getting into any kind of network that that's playing live music. There are a lot of celebrity musicians who are doing free concerts right now. Look for them on Instagram, even on the television. There are people who are broadcasting from their homes. And so stepping sort of outside of this realm of food and nutrition, we want to look at whole body wellness. And these are some really important resources that we can look through and try.
Stefanie, I had a question for you, just a little bit off that topic, but you had a great tip about working with your grocer as far as when you're talking about, grocery shopping, whether we're ordering food through, Instacart or whatever. You had some great tips. So
yeah, so one of the resources everyone's going to have is this top 10 culinary tips during COVID. Ashley and I put together 2 different resources for everybody. And so one of the things that that I advocate for all the time with anybody I'm working with is speak up. So don't for a second hesitate to go to your grocer and say, hey, listen, I have special dietary needs and these are the items that I usually get. They're not in stock right now, but would you do me a huge favor? Could you let me know when they are? I'm going to give you my phone number. You can shoot me a text. Please give me a call or let me know a time that I can check back. Some people, if you live in a small community, would be kind enough and put that stuff aside for you. And so please do not hesitate for a second to speak up. This is what this time is all about, is people showing their vulnerabilities and having the courage to say what they need and to put themselves out there, and that's okay. So I really encourage everybody to do that.
Great, thank you. Ashley, do you want to add anything, or?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that I was thinking that's happening here in the Midwest is a lot of grocers are offering that time before the store opens for immunocompromised or even people with special health needs. So definitely take that opportunity as well. It's before the store opens. It's an hour dedicated time that you can go to the store. There's less people. You can take your time, and everything's freshly stocked and freshly cleaned as well. So taking that opportunity to use that time for yourself to go to the grocery store if you need to can be helpful if your local grocery store is offering that.
Well, and also another thing to add to that are local farms. So I know there are people on this call from all over the country, the world. If you live in a farming community or you're near farms, call your local farmers and ask them, what kind of services are they providing right now for the community? Because right now these farmers need so much help, and we could help them by reaching out and by buying from them as well. And a lot of them are delivering too.
Great, thank you. So this one, what safety tips do you have for grocery shopping, food delivery, and ordering in? Is there a method to keep packaged surfaces clean and safe? And I know you're not experts in hygiene, you know what I mean, but I mean, what kinds of things do you recommend?
I'll hit on this one first, Stefanie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, the recommendation is to just continue with our normal food safety routine. So washing our hands well, washing our fresh produce when we get it home, to wash the dirt, to wash the germs. That's been the standard since forever. So just continuing to do that, as well as making sure we're freezing and thawing things and refrigerating things in a proper manner as well, cooking to the right cooking temperatures. All of those things are important with food safety. So I would say as long as we're doing those things, and if we're washing our hands when we get home from the grocery store, or if we're ordering takeout and picking it up at our home, washing our hands once we bring it in, that's going to be the things that really matter.
Well, and I also think one of the things we're doing in my home, normally we use the reusable bags whenever we shop. So we've actually stopped using them. And my husband has been the one who's venturing to the grocery store. And we put the bags outside, and we leave them outside, and we unload the food into the house. So just separating the food out of the bag outside of your home will just decrease potential contaminant surfaces. And then the person who goes shopping, just get in the shower when you get home and put your clothes in the washing machine. So that's just one easy thing that we can all at least try to do. And then sometimes what we'll do is we'll just spray down or use wipes on certain surfaces, like, plastic containers or glass bottles, just in case. There really isn't enough science right now to let us know how long the virus is lasting on certain surfaces. But like Ashley said, we can take the normal precautions that we would normally take, and then, maybe add a few others.
I think it's interesting too to note Ashley is in Nebraska. Stefanie is living right outside of New York City. So I think we have
Yes.
There are some differences there in what
there are a lot of differences. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We are in the hot zone. So it's, I think there may be a bit more fear around, where I am.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about in the days prior to this conversation is that each, you really have to go with what's happening locally in your area, that we can turn on the national news wherever we are, turn on the worldwide news and get a little panicked about what's happening, but turn on your local news, because that's where you're living, that's where you're staying, that's where you're self-isolating, that those are the things that are really going to hit home for you.
You know, another thing to what you said, Ashley, you know, in terms of calling your grocers, what we've been doing is calling our local grocers and saying, what's the best time to come?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes there are long lines, other times there are not. And so, and I know they do have special exceptions for immunocompromised individuals. So just having that dialogue and speaking up is so important.
Great. We just have 2 quick more questions for you, and then we'll go to questions from the group. So this is one we all can relate to. Being at home all day creates boredom. And not meaning boredom, I don't think it's because if we're working from home, we're busy, but we don't have a change in our routine like we used to be able to have. And boredom can lead to eating. How do you suggest mitigating food consumption with the end goal of staying healthy? Who wants to start?
Well, one thing I would say is a great tactic is just have some cut vegetables. I'm sorry, guys, that's my dog. Just
okay.
Have some cut vegetables in the house. So if you have this urge to snack, you're just grabbing vegetables. They're crunchy, they're healthy, they're going to give you powerful nutrition. So just have those around, and even some fruit, or even frozen berries is a great snack too. If you have any frozen berries in the freezer, great staple to have around. So then you know that you're just reaching, if you really need something, you're really reaching for something that's healthy.
Yeah, and that hand to mouth motion is what we all kind of crave when we snack. Think of like chips or snack crackers or cookies. That's what we automatically like to do. So having some cut up vegetables or fruit helps with that same type of motion, with it being less calorie dense, but more nutrient dense.
Yeah. And also beverages. One of the things that's good to do is just sip on lemon water all day. You know, if you can get some seltzer or any kind of fizzy water and splash it with a little bit of juice, that's a great beverage to just sip on all day, because it's that boredom and you need to reach. I mean, I have a cup of tea. I constantly need to have something in my hand because I'm not running out and driving kids to sports or school, or I'm not going and doing things like I normally do. You know, I'm antsy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I feel that way at home. I have a much nicer kitchen here than I do at my office, and that's not good because things are right there. Okay, great. Our last question, and then we're going to open up to folks. Most people need to cook for themselves and their families now more than ever. If you don't like to cook, or you can't cook, or you think you can't cook, what's the best way to get your nourishment? I mean, if you're struggling cooking.
I'm gonna let Stefanie take this one, because this is like her thing.
So I will always start with, let's figure out a way we can cook. And, you know, I'm happy to post a few recipes as well of sort of these one pot meals that you can make that are super easy, whether it's a soup or a chili or a stew. And then you can make one pot and then have it for several days, sometimes even a week. You can freeze a portion of it. So that's a good way. You can also form a relationship with one of the local restaurants in your area who can, you know, maybe meal plan with you and provide specific meals for you throughout your day. And then if you can get some frozen foods, such as, you know, if you go to the grocery store, there's a brand, and it's widely available, Amy's products or Annie's products, and they tend to be fairly healthy. And they make everything from frozen burritos to, you know, rice and bean dishes. So, you know, stock up on some frozen items that are health supportive. This day and age, there are so many of them. and they're much more accessible than in the past. Another super easy thing to do is a bag of frozen vegetables and just cook some rice and have that with some canned beans. Very simple, highly nutritious, and cost effective too.
Something that I always recommend is looking at the 5 food groups. So fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. And meals don't always have to look like some great, extravagant, put together dish. It can be some slices of cheese with some lunch meat and some crackers and fruits and vegetables. It can be a modge-podge of things that maybe don't even necessarily go together, but sound good to you and you have in your pantry.
I mean, the other day for dinner, I had a grilled cheese and tomato soup. So, you don't have to make anything elaborate, just something that's going to be, nutritious and something that you enjoy too. Really important.
Great. Okay, so we are going to open up to some questions. So make sure you type in your questions. And Erica, I'm going to ask you to help me make sure, and Danielle, that I don't miss anything. So the first one is, and this is a good one because I have this issue as well. In terms of crunchy vegetables, what do you recommend for people that have a lot of concerns about breaking their teeth?
I did see that one, and DI is a big thing that happens with OI that a lot of kids and even adults struggle with. So that's something that I was going to bring up today for sure. So it doesn't always have to be something crunchy. Vegetables, I mean, even for me, it sometimes tastes better if they're cooked. So cooking the vegetables instead of having that hard crunch can make it easier. Also, and Stefanie can maybe put a little bit more tips and tricks to this, but like doing wet cooking with your meat can be helpful. So like braising or like crock pot style. So that way it's softer and more tender to chew as well.
Yeah, and I mean, when we look at vegetables, cucumbers can be pretty tender, as well as tomatoes. So going for sort of the softer vegetables may be an option.
Okay, great. Another question is about milk and dairy. So the question is skim milk good to drink or regular milk? And then can you talk about, I know earlier we talked about substitutes like yogurt and things for dairy. So you can talk a little bit about that?
So it depends on, for me as a dietitian, I really individualize my recommendations. So it depends on what exactly we're looking for. If we have a child who's struggling with growth, because sometimes that does happen with OI, I would recommend like a whole milk or a vitamin D milk, or I'm assuming what you're calling regular milk. But if we're looking at someone maybe who's struggling with their weight a little bit more, leaning more towards that skim milk to reduce the fat content, or maybe someone who's struggling with high cholesterol or something like that, bringing down the fat content in the milk can help. So I'm not exactly answering your question, but either which way you can kind of decide which end of the spectrum you need to be on with that milk. And the alternatives too. So I said for the kiddos to match the protein content that's in a cow's milk, I usually recommend like the brand Ripple. So it's a pea protein milk, or a soy milk, depending on how many other soy products you're eating at the same time, or would be those protein equivalent milk options that I first and foremost recommend for the kiddos.
I think Ashley did a great job answering that.
Great. So here's another question. What are your thoughts about snacking on popcorn?
I love to snack on popcorn.
It has that hand-to-mouth thing too.
So yeah, popcorn's okay?
You're not, pouring butter on top of it and tons of salt. So if you pop it, I don't know if you're popping it in a microwave or if you're popping it in a pan, but if you're doing it in a microwave, there are plenty of air popped options out there. And if you're doing it in a pan, I just do it with a little oil and salt.
And I would recommend putting it in a bowl. So portioning it out. Anytime we have anything with that hand to mouth motion, if we're eating it out of a bag, we could end up eating the whole bag without even really knowing it. So portion it out, put it into a bowl, and that's what you're eating for your snack, and you can really enjoy it. Do be careful with the popcorn if you're having issues with DI though.
Yeah. Ashley, I know we're going to share a recommendation list that you had, but Is there portion information on that list for parents?
I don't have portion information on that
Okay.
list, but what I recommend, I mean, now we're all home, so hopefully we do have some measuring cups at home, but that's a very American-based style of cooking. So I always recommend everybody has a hand, right? So our hand is about the size of one cup. So a cup of fruit, a cup of vegetables, the size of your palm is about the size of a piece of meat that we should be eating, whether that's fish, pork, beef, chicken. The size of your thumb is about an ounce, so you can do like an ounce of cheese or any of our spreads or dips or nut butters or things like that. So yeah, your hand's a good alternative to use.
Okay, thank you. I did miss one question from Randy. I was told buying fruits, especially needing to be peeled, i.e. bananas, oranges, clementines, etc., are even safer, which makes sense. But from a food safety perspective, what are your thoughts?
In terms of the fruits you have to peel?
Yeah.
Well, I think in general, I mean, if we can look at it in two ways. So the fruits that you have to peel, bananas, oranges. I mean, we're looking at fruits that themselves will not have as much pesticide residue internally. So that's positive from an environmental contaminant perspective. But in terms of what we're dealing with right now, I think that we're probably safer with fruits that you have to peel, but then again, if we wash things and we take the normal precautions, I think we're fine.
Great. This one, I'd like to know what kind of vegetarian food you would recommend for people who have brittle teeth. So again, we're back talking about brittle teeth. Also, hard and chewy food is not easy to consume. So what form can it be taken in? So looking at the vegetarian angle here.
I mean, I can say what types of foods maybe, and then
Yeah,
Stefanie can tell you how to cook them and how to make them taste good.
Yeah.
Good.
So things like rice and beans, all plant-based proteins are complementary. So putting them together is what's going to be best. So that's why we see like a lot of maybe Mexican dishes, we put the rice and beans together. So I would recommend doing those sorts of things. Legumes like peanuts, as well as any other nuts and seeds can be an option. Again, I know that's not great for brittle teeth, but peanut butter or any other nut butter would be good, like a natural nut butter, and maybe one that doesn't have the actual peanuts in there, so you're not crunching too hard on those teeth, as well as things like those alternative milks can be a good source of protein that we kind of have to think outside the box on as well. Quinoa, some ancient grains. Quinoa is a whole protein. You don't even need to pair that one up with anything. So there's just a few.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of, I'm not a huge supporter of fake meats. So, fake and bacon or, tofu hot dogs or soy pups, they're called. But what I do highly recommend is tofu. So you can take tofu and you can just saute it with a little oil and some soy sauce and put that with rice and some vegetables, and that's a great way to get a balanced meal. Also, tempeh, which is whole fermented soybeans. What I'll do actually is I'll just saute it in a pan with a little oil, and I'll take a little barbecue sauce and put barbecue in there and just have that with rice. And it's a nice way to get some protein with some flavor. The nut butters are also a great way to get the protein. The other thing too is there are some wonderful veggie burgers. So there's a brand called Dr. Precursors, and you can get that pretty much anywhere. And they make a veggie burger that's made with all whole foods. So instead of something like a Boca burger that's highly, highly processed, you can go with sort of a more whole foods veggie burger, and they're very soft. So that's what I would recommend.
Excellent. Thank you. Is tuna packed in olive oil more nutritious than tuna packed in water?
That one again is kind of like the milk option. So something that is more concentrated with fat versus something that's less concentrated in fat. So depending on what you're looking for, again, the more saturated fat that's in there, it may raise cholesterol levels. If you're watching your weight, that may influence your weight as well. And then on the other hand, if you're looking for a few more calories to promote some good growth, maybe in those kiddos too, then I would recommend maybe doing the packed-in oil. So just depends on what you're looking for.
Somebody asked about a site we can go to check out what kind of food would be good that can help us. I think some of the materials that Ashley and Stefanie have prepared, we're going to post right on the website after this.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see those. Okay, from Randy. Oops, can't scroll down. Danielle, can you read that whole question? I eat as healthy as humanly possible, that one?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I eat as healthy as humanly possible already. I take wheatgrass and ginger shots. Try to be sure on vitamin D, C, zinc, on top of many other supplements. Are there any supplements you recommend on top of what we eat? One doctor said elderberry, echinacea. I'm not sure how to say it. Is there anything more supplement-wise good to add as well? So any supplement suggestions?
I'll go with the food. Yeah. I'll go with the food part of it because I'm just going to focus on gut health. That's where I'm going to always go, is on how to keep your gut as strong and healthy as possible. So that's eating fermented foods. So things like, a yogurt, plain yogurt, or a kimchi, kefir, that will keep your gut balanced. Like I just made, I have a little yogurt maker, and I just made coconut yogurt just by using coconut milk and putting probiotic capsules in there. And it's, it's very sour. It is a gut support to the max. And so from a food perspective, that's where I'll come in, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ashley, for the supplement aspect.
Stefanie, what do you mean, just quickly, by gut? Do you just mean being regular, or just, what do you
so your gut health, so there's a tremendous amount of research today, this day and age, that links the health of the microbiome in your gut. So what scientists have been calling your gut, meaning your stomach really, and your intestines, is your second brain. And so the health of your gut is really an overall health determinant for you, from an immune perspective, from a metabolic perspective. And because as particularly as Americans, we've the majority of us have bent so much towards a highly processed food diet. And what's happened is that gut health has suffered exponentially. And when you can clean up gut health, you can oftentimes promote overall whole body health. And so that's what particularly when you have, so I live with autoimmune disease. And so particularly when you're living with an autoimmune disease, keeping your gut strong and healthy is the foundation to keeping yourself feeling good and off of medication and so on and so forth. So when I talk about gut health, I talk about the health of your digestive system, and it's called your second brain. So there are some wonderful books out there that I'm happy to provide links to for those of you who want to read about gut health and how to keep your gut healthy.
Wonderful, thank you. Sorry, Ashley.
Oh, you're fine. Mm-hmm. In regards to those supplements, I really, as a dietitian, I individualize it pretty much with every patient that I see, depending on what they're already eating. For OI, I can generally just provide recommendations for calcium and vitamin D. Vitamin C is going to promote immunity. Again, I'm not an expert with coronavirus, so that may or may not be the be the case there, but just overall, other than that, I really don't recommend much else. A lot of those things also can have an effect with medications. So being sure to let your doctor know, whether that's your OI doc, your primary doc, whoever, let them know what you're taking to make sure it's not having any adverse side effects with your medications.
I think one thing that, to play off what you said, Ashley, which is super important, is that, when I went through school, I made a decision not to dive into supplements. That's not my area. I don't recommend them. I think you have to be highly schooled in them, because the world of supplements is really unregulated medication. And, you see something on the Dr. Oz show, or you read something in a magazine, or you see it on the news, and then you go into CVS or GNC, and, before you know it, you have a complete cabinet of supplements that you have no idea what you're taking them for. You have no idea what their quality is, and you have no idea what their real dosing is. So I highly recommend that what you do, a great thing to do is to work with your doctor. There are also blood tests that can test certain vitamin and mineral levels too, electrolyte levels, and get some understanding with your doctor, and team up with a doctor who is versed in this idea of gut health. I'll provide a lot of resources, Tracy,
Okay.
to introduce the audience to some of these folks, if they don't already know. But it's really important to do this in partnership and in collaboration with your current healthcare team.
Great.
It's not a free-for-all.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, and supplements are expensive too. So you want to be taking what's appropriate for you.
They're expensive, and there are places that you can go if you choose to spend some money, if you can, on supplements. You want to be getting high quality.
Okay.
Very important.
So someone had a question on liquid intake and water. How much should you be, what's the general rule? How much should you be consuming of water or liquid in general in a day?
For most, it's about 64 ounces or 8 cups. But what I do is, again, I individualize it, and it's based on weight is how I do it. So it just kind of depends on the weight, depending on how much your body really needs to stay hydrated. You can monitor hydration through the color and smell of your urine, your skin turgor, so how tight your skin is. If you're feeling thirsty, it's too late. You're already a little dehydrated.
And you say 8 cups, and we're talking for kids as well? I mean, that's the standard.
For kids, it may be a little bit less. For the kiddos, I really recommend it to be against weight as well. So making sure that you're talking with their dietitian, or you're talking with their doctor, who will be able to give you that exact
amount. So Valerie was talking about struggling with my weight right now. And I think the issue is, and we talk to this a little bit about other people cooking for you. And how, so the question is, I'm struggling with my weight right now because I eat and eat. My boyfriend is the cook for me, and our kids seem like I can't control my eating habits since we've been isolated. And I know it's not good for my health, especially living with OI. But I think a lot of us can understand that when someone is cooking for you as well, you don't have a lot of control. So any recommendations there? Meal planning maybe, or I don't know.
The one thing I wanted to hit on before I turn it over to Stefanie is that just the explanation on why I keep talking about weight management, and why Valerie seems to be hitting on it as well, because there's a lot of talk out there about body positivity, but there's also some medical reasons to make sure that you're within a healthy weight range for your body. And for OI specifically, if you weigh too little, then the way I explain it to the kids is, if you weigh too little, then every bump you run into, every desk drawer, every toe jam, you're going to end up with a fracture. But if you weigh too much on the other end of the spectrum, it's more pressure and weight on your bones and joints, which again can lead to pressure fractures. So that's why we talk so much in OI about appropriate weight. And again, that's different for everybody. So there's not some set awesome number for every single person, but that's why we talk about it, is because the weight can really affect how many fractures you're having. And the whole goal is to have less fractures for you. So Stefanie, if you want to maybe address the question a little bit more.
Thank you, Ashley. So I would first ask, I think it's Valerie, it says, how is her boyfriend cooking for her? So are there things that she can talk to him about to say, hey, listen, can we steam that broccoli versus sauteing it in butter? Or, can we have grilled chicken instead of, breaded fried chicken? So I don't know what the relationship there is in terms of what he's cooking and the dialogue that's going on. But there's always that option to just speak up and say, can we maybe bend this a little differently? But I would guess that he's probably aware. In terms of, and listen, this is really hard because eating is so emotional, and this is a highly emotional time, and for the same reason for everybody and for different reasons. And I think that's why we started with this idea of forgiving ourselves. But when you're living with OI, or you're living with any kind of chronic condition, there are things you have to think about that your average person doesn't have to think about. And that's just a way of life. And it's a practice. And so right now, what we're all being asked to do is, as one of my colleagues said the other day, is retool, right? So how do we retool in these times? And it's about, setting a new routine. It's about sticking to that new routine. It's about making decisions every single day that support your health, that are going to help you. On those days that you just can't, for whatever reason, do forgive yourself, but get back to that routine. While eating can seem to be comfort, and for most people it is, or for a lot of people it is, find other activities that comfort you. Do you like to draw? Do you like to write? Do you like to listen to music? Do you like to play cards, board games, vacuum? Whatever it may be, hang out with the animals, the dog, if you have a dog or a cat. Try to find substitution activities that can take place of the eating. And it's a practice. So you're going to have to change the conversations that you're having with yourself. I mean, I talk to myself all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. And what I would kind of go off that with, I would say, making sure you stick to that routine. Wake up the time you normally wake up. Have what you normally have for breakfast. We don't need to make like a big gourmet breakfast and have French toast and waffles every day because we're home and we have the time. Have your Greek yogurt parfait or what you normally have for breakfast. You don't have to go extravagant and big for every meal. And maybe that's what some people like to do, is they like to cook. And not only do they like to cook, but they like to share their food with other people, and that's okay sometimes, but reining it back in and saying, I love when you cook dinner, and after a long day of staying inside, I would love to sit down and enjoy dinner with you, but maybe for lunch, let's just have something light. Can we make something maybe a little bit smaller? And having that open conversation to say, let's bring it back to a little bit more of what we normally do, because keeping our fingers crossed, things will get back to normal, and we don't want to be so deviated off from our normal routine, whether that's eating, working, showering, anything like that. We want to be able to integrate back into our normal life.
Well, and I think also another thing too is if you do live with somebody, it's about keeping each other in check. So it's very valuable, because I can tend to push myself, and to have somebody who's like, you know what, I think you need to just chill out. You've been like moving like a motorboat all day. So if we can enlist, whether it's, if we live alone, enlist a friend that you can check in with every day, or a family member to kind of help you keep on track and encourage you. Because when we're out in the world, we have people who are touch points and who we connect with, whether it's our medical team, whether it's, in an academic environment, whether it's just friends or family, where you see people and they're like, how are you doing? Oh, let's do this together because I know that makes you happy. None of us have that in the same way right now.
Right.
So I think it's, you know, stepping back and looking at what our resources are and tapping into that.
Yep. So Ashley, this is probably a loaded question and one I didn't talk to you about before, but in a day, and for both of you, what if I come out at the end of the day and I've eaten this and I've had this much fluid, it's a good day. What are the things that I should be? Is it one protein? You know, there's so many different charts and whatever. I mean, what's a good day for somebody?
This, I'm gonna like precurse this by saying this is what I would recommend normally. What Stefanie said at the beginning, that we have to forgive ourselves, and maybe we're not able to get these things at the grocery store. Maybe we're not able to cook these things, or maybe they came and went and now we're not going to the grocery store for another 2 weeks and there's no more fresh fruits and vegetables in the house. So this is, again, what I would recommend normally: 5 fruits and vegetables a day, trying to do more whole grains compared to your refined grains. So think like wheat bread versus white bread, brown rice versus white rice. Having good sources of protein and fiber. That's where your fresh fruits and vegetables and your whole wheat, as well as dairy and then protein choices. Those are your protein options. Those things keep you full and satisfied too. So every time you eat, trying to have a protein and something with fiber in it can keep you satisfied for longer too, instead of reaching for that next snack. I always tell the kiddos, I was like, I can eat a whole bag of chips and not feel any more satisfied. Like by the end of the bag of chips, I'm like, did I just eat a whole bag of chips? Because I'm still hungry. It's because it condenses into nothing in your stomach, and then you're still left with this feeling of hunger. So making yourself feel more satisfied and having bulkier things with protein and fiber, because they take longer to digest and absorb, that's the things we're looking for. So 5 fruits and vegetables a day, your 8 cups of water, getting some good sources of fiber through your whole grains and protein options, and then making sure, especially for OI, getting your calcium and vitamin D through dairy sources. That's what you're going to look for by the end of the day.
I think, Tracy, to that, maybe what Ashley and I can come together and do in the next few days is maybe just come up with sort of a general template of a plan that people can refer to and say, oh, okay, you know, this is a good touch point for me, a good starting point for me to look at, to reference. Yep,
that would be awesome. That would be great. Because we have those resources that we're going to share from you after this call too. I don't see any other questions. Danielle did? Okay. I did want to share with the group something that you all talked about, which I thought was very interesting, and then I'll let you have the final words. But for people that are living alone and you're isolating alone and you're used to being out with friends and, you know, going out to dinner, you had some really cute ideas about having Zoom dinner parties and cooking together. And I don't know if you just want to kind of share those, because I love those.
Yeah, I think it's really important the thing that we have to realize is you can get on FaceTime, you can get on Zoom while you're in your kitchen or while a friend is in their kitchen, and you can socialize around meal preparation, and you can literally be on camera eating together. So I think that, you know, I'm on a learning curve right now with the amount of technology I have to dive into, to be honest with you. And I think that we all are, but it's easy enough to do a FaceTime and to connect with a friend. Another thing you can do is, if you're used to, some people I know we spoke about are used to going out to dinner, right? And maybe going out to dinner with friends. So, you know, order in. Your friends, you order in from the same place and then set up a camera on your table and eat together. So I think just being flexible and adaptable in that way and connecting that way and knowing that it's okay. You know, sometimes I'll just FaceTime a friend of mine as I'm doing dishes just to connect.
Yeah. Yep. Ashley, do you want to add anything there?
No, I thought it was perfect.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any more questions, but I'd love for Ashley and Stefanie to have some final words. And then, as I said, the resources will be out, and the link to Stefanie's book, which is fabulous, is on there as well. So Ashley, do you want to go first?
Oh gosh, I didn't have anything prepared. So
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just going to say we're all trying the best that we can. Try your best to be social through virtual activity if you can. Keep up that normal routine. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really what gets us through each day so we can look forward to the next day. And just trying your best with food, because it's not going to seem normal right now. And everybody just needs to know that that's okay. And that everybody else, even though you might be socially isolating, is dealing with the same exact things all across the nation, all across the world.
Yeah. I think in what I would leave you with two things. The first is that next Wednesday, and I believe you guys will get the link, I'm going to be doing something called Making the Most of Our Pandemic Pantries through Teachers College, Columbia University. And it's going to be a virtual, on April 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, a virtual demo and dialogue. So from my kitchen to yours. So if you have that head of cauliflower or you have that can of beans that you're not sure what to do with, I'm going to be diving in a little deeper from a culinary perspective. But one thing that we bring to our dinner table every night is a celebration of gratitude. And this is something on the culinary tips. And I've got 2 kids, and each of my sons processes this in a different way, as well as me and my husband. And what we do is when we sit down to eat, and even being home, all of us, we're not sitting down for formal dinner every single night. I mean, I love my family, but I do need pause sometimes. So when we do sit down, we do an activity, a mindful eating activity, which we all share what our worst part of the day was, what our best part of the day was, and what we're grateful for. Because we all have bad parts of our day and they have to be spoken about, and we have good parts. And at a time like this in particular, there are so many small miracles every day, so many small blessings. And we want to try to hold on to that and share that with the people that we care about. So that would be from my heart to all of your hearts. And I'm really honored and humbled for this opportunity to speak to all of you amazingly courageous humans.
Well, many, many thanks to you, Stefanie, to you, Ashley. I'm looking, it's so funny. I'm trying to make eye contact with people I know, and you can't do that here, but your community members too have wonderful resources. I'm looking at you, Tony Jacobson. I keep looking at your site that you have up with your music and your positive coaching and your fitness. So there's many of us in the community, so rely on each other. And Ashley and Stefanie's materials will be up on our website soon. And if there are no other questions, just want to...
Also, I don't want anyone to hesitate for a second to email me.
Okay, super.
Okay, and I know Ashley feels the same way. I mean, you guys will have our information. Please reach out. Shoot us an email. I'm happy to get back to you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, well, have a wonderful day. Stay safe and well, and we'll be back with another one of these soon. So thanks, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Take care.
Bye-bye.